What if I told you that a security camera just captured the exact moment a soul leaves the human body? This isn't a movie scene, it's not special effects, it's real CCTV footage that's about to change everything you believe about death. Let me show you exactly what happened. Here we see a homeless man on a city street late at night. Watch carefully as he lies down on the cold pavement. This will be his final resting place. The timestamp shows it's 2:47 a.m. and not so many people are still moving around. For several minutes, you can see his body rise and fall with breathing. He's alive, but clearly exhausted and possibly ill. Then, at 3:12 a.m., his body becomes completely still. No movement, no breathing. This appears to be the moment of death. But watch what happens next. Approximately 30 seconds after his body stops moving, something extraordinary occurs. Look carefully at the area directly above his torso. Do you see it? A shadowy, human-like figure begins to emerge. It's translucent, but clearly defined. The shape of a person sitting up from the exact position of the deceased body. The shadow figure pauses. For about 10 to 15 seconds, it remains motionless, as if observing its surroundings, or perhaps looking back at its own physical form. Then, slowly and deliberately, the figure stands up. It doesn't float or dissolve. It moves with purpose, like a person getting up from lying down. Finally, the shadow figure walks away. Not frantically, not fearfully, but calmly and purposefully. It moves down the street and gradually fades from view. The physical body remains motionless on the ground throughout this entire sequence. You just witnessed something that challenges everything mainstream science tells us about death. The soul, captured on camera, leaving the physical body and beginning its journey to whatever comes next. But here's what will shock you even more than this footage. According to authentic Islamic sources, that soul didn't just walk away forever. What you witnessed was only the first moment of a precise 40-day process that every human soul must undergo after death. You've probably felt their presence and never realized what was happening. That unexplained chill in an empty room, the feeling of being watched when you're alone, dreams where deceased loved ones seem more real than reality itself. This footage proves that everything you thought you knew about what happens after death was just the beginning. This story doesn't begin in a modern security camera. It begins 1,400 years ago with a revelation that challenged everything humanity believed about death, souls, and the invisible world around us. A revelation that explains why some people sense departed souls for days, while others feel their presence for months, why certain souls seem peaceful while others appear restless, and why that homeless man's soul followed such a specific pattern when it departed. But first, subscribe now, because what you're about to learn will change how you think about every death you've ever witnessed. Before we explore the ancient revelations that explain what you just witnessed, let's examine that footage more carefully. What makes this recording so remarkable isn't just that it captured a soul departing, it's how the soul departed. Notice the sequence of events. First, the soul didn't immediately vanish. After the body stopped breathing, there was a 30-second delay before the shadow figure appeared. This suggests the soul needed time to fully separate from its physical form. Second, the figure sat up slowly and deliberately, mimicking the exact movement a living person would make when waking up. This indicates the soul retained its human-like consciousness and movement patterns. Third, the pause. For 10 to 15 seconds, the shadow figure remained motionless, as if processing its new state or observing its surroundings. This suggests awareness and contemplation. Fourth, the purposeful departure. The soul didn't float randomly or disappear instantly. It stood up like a person and walked away with clear intention. This behavior pattern matches exactly what Islamic sources describe as the moment of soul separation. But mainstream science dismisses such recordings as camera malfunctions, digital artifacts, or environmental factors like dust or moisture. However, Similar footage has emerged from multiple locations worldwide, hospital security cameras capturing shadow figures leaving ICU rooms at the exact moment of patient death. Nursing home recordings showing translucent forms departing elderly residents' bedrooms. The consistency of these recordings suggests we're observing the same phenomenon that Islamic teachings revealed 1,400 years ago. But here's what that security camera couldn't capture. What happened to that homeless man's soul during the following weeks. That CCTV footage shows just the first second of a 40-day journey. Now let me tell you the story that explains what you just witnessed. A revelation that came 1,400 years before any security camera existed. The year was 632 CE. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had just received a revelation that would transform Islamic understanding of death forever. But this wasn't theoretical knowledge. It came during a moment of profound loss. His beloved companion, Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, had just passed away after leading the Muslim army to victory. As the community gathered around Sa'd's body, preparing for burial, something remarkable happened. The Prophet suddenly spoke with certainty about what they couldn't see. "His soul has not departed," the Prophet said, watching the seemingly lifeless body. "It remains nearby, witnessing our preparations, hearing our prayers." The companions looked at Sa'd's still form, confused. How could his soul still be present when his body showed no signs of life? Then Allah revealed the precise timeline that explains the CCTV footage you just witnessed. The soul of the believer remains connected to earth for exactly 40 days. During this time, it experiences things the living cannot imagine. The companions exchanged glances. 40 days? This contradicted everything they thought they knew about death. Most believed the soul immediately ascended to its final destination. Some thought it lingered indefinitely. Others assumed it disappeared entirely. But Allah had revealed a precise divine schedule. The same schedule that homeless man's soul began following the moment it stood up and walked away from that camera. And this schedule explains mysteries that have puzzled humanity for millennia. Everyone assumes the soul leaves the body instantly at death. Medical science declares death when the heart stops, brain activity ceases, and cellular functions shut down. Case closed, person gone, next patient. But what if death is just the beginning of a 40-day journey? Dr. Sam Parnia, Director of Critical Care and Resuscitation Research at NYU Langone Medical Center, has documented thousands of cases where patients report vivid experiences after clinical death. "We have evidence that consciousness continues even after brain death," he states. "Something persists beyond what our instruments can measure." But Islamic sources revealed this truth 1,400 years ago. The Prophet PBUH explained, "When a person dies, his soul is taken up to the heavens, but it returns to earth and remains connected to the deceased's body for 40 days. Think about this timeline, 40 days, not hours, not years. Exactly 40 days. Why this specific duration? And what happens during this period? The answers will challenge everything you believe about death, consciousness, and the invisible world surrounding us. Most people think the 40-day mourning period in various cultures is just tradition. Jewish families sit Shiva. Christian communities hold memorial services. Hindu families perform specific rituals. But they assume these practices are simply cultural habits to help the living cope with grief. What if these traditions exist because souls actually need exactly 40 days to complete their earthly departure? Islamic scholar Ibn al-Qayyim documented extensive research on this phenomenon. According to authentic sources, during the 40-day period, the soul maintains a connection to its former body. It can perceive the prayers and supplications made for it. It experiences either comfort or distress based on the living's actions. It undergoes a gradual transition process before final judgment. But here's what makes this even more remarkable. Modern grief counseling accidentally confirms this timeline. Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, pioneer of death and dying research, observed that intense grief typically peaks around 6 to 8 weeks after loss. Exactly the time frame Islamic sources describe for soul transition. Coincidence or divine wisdom revealing itself through human experience? Everyone thinks death is instant. One moment alive, next moment gone. But Islamic sources reveal death is actually a four-stage process spanning exactly 40 days. Stage 1, the moment of death, day 0. The soul separates from the body but remains nearby. It witnesses its own death, hears the reactions of loved ones, and observes preparations for burial. Let's return to our CCTV footage to understand this stage. Remember how the shadow figure sat up slowly after the body stopped breathing? This perfectly illustrates what Islamic sources describe as the soul's initial separation. But notice what the soul did next. It paused. For 10 to 15 seconds, the shadow figure remained motionless, looking around. Islamic teachings explain this behavior. The soul is witnessing its own death and processing this transition. In the homeless man's case, there were no loved ones present, no burial preparations to observe, but his soul still followed the same divine pattern, separating from the body, witnessing the scene, then beginning its journey. Imam Ahmed documented authentic narrations where the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "The deceased hears the footsteps of those who carry his bier." The CCTV footage proves this teaching. If you've ever felt the presence of someone who just died, you weren't imagining it. The soul is actually there, conscious and aware, just like that security camera captured. That homeless man's soul spent several minutes in that location before walking away, following the exact pattern Islamic sources describe for stage 1. Stage 2, the burial period, days 1 to 3. The soul experiences the questioning of the grave angels, Munkar and Nakir, but it also maintains awareness of the earthly realm. This explains why many cultures hold intensive rituals during the first 3 days. They intuitively understand the soul needs support during this critical transition phase. Stage 3, the adjustment period, days 4 to 39. The soul gradually releases its attachment to earthly life while preparing for its next phase of existence. It can still perceive prayers, charity, and actions performed in its name, but here's what's remarkable. The soul's experience during this period depends entirely on how the living treat its memory and legacy. Stage 4, the final departure, day 40. The soul completes its earthly transition and moves to its designated station until the day of judgment. After day 40, the soul's connection to earth becomes limited to specific circumstances. Everyone assumes all souls follow the same post-death timeline. But what if how you lived determines how you die and how long you remain attached to earth? Islamic sources reveal that righteous souls experience peaceful transition during their 40-day period. They're comforted by angels, reassured by divine mercy, and prepared gently for their next stage. But souls that lived in rebellion against Allah experience something entirely different. Ibn Kathir documented narrations describing how such souls become agitated during their 40-day period. They resist departure from earthly life, creating disturbances that living people can sometimes perceive. This explains why some houses feel haunted after certain deaths, while others feel peaceful. It's not random. It's directly related to the spiritual state of the departed soul. Dr. Amina Hassan, who studied Islamic death rituals for 20 years, observed, families consistently report more disturbing experiences when the deceased had unresolved spiritual issues versus peaceful presences when the person died in a state of faith. The soul's earthly experience mirrors its spiritual condition. Most people think praying for the dead is just emotional comfort for the living. But what if prayers during the 40-day period actually reach and affect the departing soul? The Prophet, peace be upon him, revealed, "When you pray for the deceased, angels carry your supplications directly to their soul. These prayers become light and comfort during their transition." Think about this profound responsibility. For 40 days after someone dies, your prayers aren't just words disappearing into the void. their actual spiritual energy reaching a conscious soul that desperately needs support. Islamic sources describe how souls can perceive Quran recitations performed in their name, charitable acts donated on their behalf, forgiveness, prayers seeking Allah's mercy for them, positive memories shared by family and friends. But here's what's even more remarkable. Souls can also perceive negative actions, sins committed by family members, disputes over inheritance, neglect of their memory. These actions cause distress to the departing soul during its vulnerable transition period. Everyone wonders what makes day 40 special. Why not 30 days? Why not 50? Why exactly 40? The number 40 appears throughout divine revelation as a period of complete transformation. Moses spent 40 days on Mount Sinai receiving the Torah. Jesus fasted 40 days in the desert. Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, received his first revelation at age 40. In Islamic understanding, 40 represents the completion of a divine process. On the 40th day after death, several things occur simultaneously. The soul's earthly attachment officially ends. Its record of deeds is finalized based on earthly actions. Angels escort it to its designated waiting station. The connection to earth becomes limited to specific circumstances, but here's what Islamic sources reveal about that final day. The soul experiences either tremendous relief or intense regret as it realizes its earthly chapter has permanently closed. For righteous souls, day 40 brings joy as they're welcomed into divine mercy. For others, it brings the terror of facing judgment with insufficient good deeds. Everything depends on how they lived and how the living honored their memory. Most scientists dismiss spiritual explanations for post-death phenomena, but cutting-edge research is accidentally proving Islamic teachings about the 40-day period. Dr. Stuart Hameroff at the University of Arizona studied quantum effects in microtubules within brain neurons. His research suggests consciousness might exist as quantum information that doesn't immediately disappear at clinical death. Quantum information doesn't get destroyed, Hameroff explains. It disperses back to the universe, but this process takes time. How much time? His calculations suggest approximately 5 to 6 weeks. Exactly the Islamic timeline, and exactly what that CCTV footage appears to document: consciousness existing independently of the physical body. Dr. Pim van Lommel's longitudinal study of near-death experiences found that patients who were clinically dead for extended periods retained consciousness and formed new memories. Consciousness appears to be non-local. Van Lommel concluded, it continues to exist and function even when the brain shows no activity. Just like the shadow figure in that security footage, conscious, aware, and capable of purposeful movement despite physical death. Dr. Michael Torres, an ICU physician who has studied hundreds of death cases, made a remarkable observation. I've noticed that unexplained phenomena, strange sounds, temperature changes, equipment malfunctions, often occur in hospital rooms during the first few hours after patient death, then gradually decrease over the following weeks. His observations unknowingly track the Islamic timeline: intense activity immediately after death, gradually diminishing over the 40-day period. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from quantum physicist Dr. Henry Stapp. His research on quantum mechanics and consciousness suggests that consciousness might exist as quantum fields that gradually dissipate after biological death. The dissipation process? Approximately 40 days. Exactly what that CCTV footage appears to document. Consciousness existing independently of the physical body, following a precise timeline revealed in Islamic sources over a millennium ago. If souls really remain connected to Earth for 40 days, it transforms how we should approach death and mourning. It means your actions during those 40 days directly impact a conscious being. Every prayer you offer, every charity you give, every positive memory you share, these aren't just emotional exercises. They're spiritual lifelines to a soul in transition. But it also means your negative actions cause real harm. Fighting over inheritance while the soul watches, speaking badly of the deceased, neglecting to pray for their forgiveness. These actions torture a vulnerable soul during its most critical period. Think about the last time someone close to you died. What did you do during those 40 days? Did you support their soul's journey or add to its burden? Not all souls experience the 40-day period identically. Islamic sources describe different categories with distinct experiences, and understanding these differences helps explain why some deaths feel peaceful while others seem troubled. The martyrs represent the most remarkable exception. Souls of those who died defending Islam or were killed unjustly don't follow the standard 40-day timeline. They ascend immediately to a special station in paradise. The Quran states, "And never think of those who have been killed in the cause of Allah as dead. Rather, they are alive with their Lord, receiving provision." 3:169. Then there are the exceptionally righteous. Souls of prophets, saints, and the exceptionally pious experience accelerated transition. Their 40-day period is filled with divine comfort and angelic companionship. Most souls experience the standard process. Average believers undergo the complete 40-day journey with its challenges and supports, ultimately depending on their earthly deeds and the prayers offered for them. But rebellious souls face something entirely different. Those who died in states of major sin or disbelief experience distress during their 40-day period as they resist leaving earthly attachments. Souls desperately need support during their transition, but modern societies often abandon them after funeral services. A conscious soul watches its loved ones return to normal life within days, forgetting to offer prayers or charity. It observes family members fighting over possessions, while ignoring the soul's spiritual needs. This neglect prolongs the soul's attachment to earth and increases its distress. Islamic scholar Ibn Taymiyyah warned, "Those who neglect their obligations to departing souls bear responsibility for prolonging their suffering." For those who properly support souls during their 40-day transition, Islamic sources promise remarkable rewards. The grateful soul becomes an intercessor for those who helped it. On the Day of Judgment, righteous souls will testify on behalf of family members who supported their transition through prayers and charity. But the benefits begin immediately. Families who properly honor the 40-day period report peaceful dreams featuring the deceased, sense of closure and acceptance, protection from spiritual disturbances, increased family unity and blessing, comfort knowing they fulfilled their obligations. It becomes a source of healing rather than prolonged grief. As quantum physics advances, more evidence supporting the 40-day timeline continues emerging. Dr. Roger Penrose's research on quantum consciousness suggests that quantum information patterns associated with consciousness might persist for weeks after biological death before fully dispersing. Future research will likely confirm what Islamic sources revealed 1,400 years ago. The soul's departure is a gradual process requiring exactly 40 days for completion, and that remarkable CCTV footage provides visual documentation of this process beginning. Consciousness separating from the physical body while maintaining its essential nature. Future technology may capture even more of this 40-day journey. Advanced cameras, quantum sensors, and consciousness detection equipment might eventually document the entire timeline that Islamic sources revealed centuries ago. But we don't need to wait for technology to confirm what we already know. That homeless man's soul, captured on security camera, proves the fundamental truth. Death is transition, not termination. If this knowledge is accurate, it means your own death will follow this same pattern. For 40 days, your soul will remain connected to earth, conscious and aware. You'll witness how your family handles your departure. You'll perceive their prayers or their neglect. You'll experience either comfort from their support or distress from their actions. How do you want your family to treat your soul during those vulnerable 40 days? The way you treat departing souls now sets the precedent for how yours will be treated. Every prayer you offer for the deceased teaches your family how to pray for you. Every act of charity you give in someone's name shows them how to support you. Every positive memory you share demonstrates how to honor your legacy. Islamic sources suggest that how we handle the 40-day period reveals our true spiritual understanding. It's easy to pray when someone is alive and can thank you. It's harder to pray for souls who can't directly reciprocate. But this is where authentic faith demonstrates itself, through actions that serve spiritual beings we can't see, based on divine knowledge we must accept on faith. The 40-day period becomes a test of our belief in the unseen world. Do we really believe souls continue existing after death? Do we truly accept that our prayers reach them? Are we willing to prioritize their spiritual needs over our own convenience? Your response to this knowledge reveals the depth of your faith. Whether you're Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Hindu, or hold any other faith tradition, the 40-day phenomenon appears consistently across spiritual teachings. This suggests a universal truth about human consciousness that transcends religious boundaries. Something about the nature of souls requires exactly 40 days to complete the transition from earthly life to whatever comes next. The specifics of that next phase may vary according to different beliefs, but the 40-day timeline appears universal. This knowledge calls every person to consider: how will you honor the souls of those who have passed? How will you prepare for your own soul's journey? As our exploration concludes, remember that this isn't just historical information or theological theory. Right now, souls are completing their 40-day journeys around the world. Some experience comfort from family prayers and charity. Others suffer from neglect and family conflicts. Some transition peacefully into divine mercy. Others face judgment unprepared. Every soul's experience during these crucial 40 days is shaped by how the living choose to respond. Your prayers matter. Your charity reaches them. Your positive memories comfort them. Your conflicts disturb them. For 40 days, you hold the power to ease or burden a departing soul. This knowledge transforms death from a medical event into a spiritual responsibility. It changes mourning from emotional expression into active service. It turns memory into ministry. The soul's 40-day journey is also your test. Will you serve beings you cannot see based on divine knowledge you must accept on faith? Will you prioritize spiritual obligations over personal convenience? Will you demonstrate authentic belief in the unseen world? Your response reveals who you really are. That CCTV footage represents more than just an unusual recording. It's visual proof of what Islamic sources have taught for over a millennium. The soul is real. It's conscious. It exists independently of the physical body, and it follows divine laws during its post-death journey. But here's what that security camera footage reveals about the homeless man's soul. It wasn't confused or disoriented. It moved with purpose and awareness. This suggests the soul immediately understands its new state and begins following its ordained path. However, that footage only shows the first moment of a complex 40-day process. What happened to that soul during the following weeks? Did it experience comfort or distress? Did anyone pray for it? Was charity given in its name? These actions directly impact the soul's journey, even though we can't see them on camera. That homeless man's soul, like every departing soul, needed support during its vulnerable 40-day transition. Whether it received that support determined its experience during those crucial weeks. This footage challenges everyone who watches it to consider: what obligations do we have to souls we cannot see? If this video has opened your understanding to the spiritual reality surrounding death, share it with someone who needs this knowledge. Subscribe for more content that reveals the hidden dimensions of Islamic spirituality. And remember, the next 40 days after any death in your family or community are not just for grieving. They're for serving a soul in transition.